When you find your spark, you find your joy. When you find your joy, you find your voice. When you find your voice, you find your freedom. And when you find your freedom, you begin to understand that you are absolutely, positively brilliant. Do I have any brilliant photographers in the room? Turn to your neighbor and say, I'm brilliant, but I am a little concerned about you. December 10, 2001, I was sitting at my desk at the happiest place on earth. And whenever you work at Disney, Mickey Mouse rule number one is you never talk to the media unless authorized. So I got a call from a journalist, and he said, where do you see yourself 10 to 15 years from now? And I said, I see myself as the president and CEO of the Walt Disney World Resort and eventually the chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company, and he puts this in print. This is not digital Botox, okay? And so my boss called me in the office, and he was like, dude, help me. What were you thinking when you did this interview? And I said, Larry, I work at this company whose motto is, if your heart is in your dreams, no request is too extreme for when you wish upon a star. Makes no difference who you are. But obviously it does here. Insert bless his little heart. So I got a call from one of the senior vice presidents who reported directly to the president, Al Weiss. And it was like a scene out of the movie Clear and Present Danger. Anybody ever seen the movie Clear and Present Danger? So he calls me, he says, do you need me to go to the president on your behalf because this is really bad? I said, how bad is it? He's like, if this article would have come out before the markets closed, people would say, who's this guy that's in line to be president at Disney? I was like, no! So y'all see where this is going, right? HR showed up a couple hours later and asked me to sign a piece of paper that went into my personnel file. And let's just say Disney didn't fire me that day. But about a year later, I heard the footsteps coming and they were not singing, "It's a small world after all." So I decided to do the unthinkable. I kind of sensed the beginning from the end, and I put my resume out on the street, and I got 4 job offers, 2 vice president's offers to go work at smaller companies, an internal move at Disney, and then a senior director position to head up all customer care for Learjet owners in the world. And I turned it all down because I really believed that it was time for me to go for it. How many can relate to when it's time to go for it, all right? And here's the deal. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. You know, listen, you got to know, because when you don't know, you don't go. But I sensed that it was time for me to move. So I did the absolute unthinkable, cashed my entire 401k with significant Disney stock, took out a line of credit on the house. At the time, Daniel was 4, Madison was 18 months old, and I totally went for it, because here's what I realized. When it is time for you to step into your destiny, everybody that has been assigned to aid and help you will show up at a place called there. But you have to get there in here. And the reason I say you have to get there in here, because here's the deal. It's not who you are that holds you back from being your most brilliant self and having that spark. It's who you think you're not that holds you back. And I'm inviting you for the next few moments, with your permission, I'm going to upload into your hard drive, how do we really become the spark? So everybody say this. Say, Simon says, I am the spark. All right, y'all say Simon said, I am. Okay, we're going to say it with power, feeling, and conviction on 3. I want you to use your outdoor voice indoor. I want you to find your inner chutzpah and say, Simon says, I am the spark. On 3. 1, 2, 3. That's it. That's it. High five your neighbor. Make sure they're awake and with the program. Okay, real quick. We got to go to work here. We got to go to work. And I want you to be able to take notes. So there are some things that I'm going to say. I want you to capture notes. By the way, if you want to record this presentation, you absolutely record it. This is my good side. Okay, so as they bring the lights up and as you begin to take notes, I want to start with this whole first principle, and that is the principle of how do we see everyone that we serve through the lens of being a guest. How do we see them as a guest? And when you think of a guest or customer, newsflash, the number one customer is you. You are your number one customer. So before you try to take care of everybody else, take care of yourself. So here's a question. How are you doing? Awesome, awesome. And I asked that question because you know all of the research, everybody has been triggered at some level. But one of the things I want us to think about is when we start with ourselves first, we can take care of others. Yes? All right, so here's your first practical takeaway, make the note. Everybody say, Simon says, take your meds. Meds is an acronym that stands for meditate. Everybody say meditate. Exercise. Diet. Sleep. All right. Let me drop a pin in meditate. And I want everyone just to do me a huge favor. Everyone sit up straight, feet flat on the ground, feet flat on the ground. And I want to take you through an exercise that I was introduced to about 18 months ago from Dr. Jean Watson, who's a scholar at the University of Colorado at Boulder. She taught a whole concept called getting centered. So in a moment, I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath. Inhale, exhale. We're going to do it 3 times, okay? And then I'll explain why centering is important, all right? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath. Awesome. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. Last time. 1, 2, 3. Getting centered is creating internal alignment that creates external execution. Rabbi Harold Kushner, who wrote the book, What Matters the Most in Life, Rabbi teaches a concept called emotional congruence. Rabbi says when you are operating in emotional congruence, everything that you think, say, and feel is in alignment. When you have internal alignment, the moment people step into your quantum field, they pick up on your energy. So when I am totally centered, I don't chase money, money chases me, because I begin to understand who I am from the inside. When I have emotional congruence, I don't compete on price because I understand if I'm always taking my price down, people will treat you any way they see fit. But when you begin to understand your emotional congruence and who you are, you come from this place and you understand not all money is good money. No, it's not. It's not. And there are some people you have to invite them to find their happiness elsewhere because they are not your customer. So we have to understand how to let them go. Everybody get your hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up. On 3, I want you to say, let it go. 1, 2, 3. Let it go. Because when I take care of the first customer, the customer being myself, then I start with meditation, and then let me drop a pin in sleep. Anybody struggle with sleep? Just, am I the only one? Okay. One of the things I want to invite us, and as I say this to you, I'm saying this to myself. Research says that when we have proper sleep, a minimum of 7 hours a night, it's like emotional first aid for the brain. So one of the things I want to challenge us to think about, as we see ourselves as a guest, as a customer, we connect to ourselves first so that we can connect to others, okay? Now, I was in the Cayman Islands a few years ago, and I got to the hotel, got to the front desk, and they said, your room is not ready, can you wait over in the lounge? So I'm waiting over in the lounge, and this gentleman comes up to me and he says, welcome to the Ritz-Carlton. I'm going to take care of you while you're here. I'm like, okay, great. And he says to me, how was your trip to Halifax, Nova Scotia? I'm like, huh? How did he know I went to Halifax, Nova Scotia? And Kara, what was so interesting, I'm talking to this guy. Kara, raise your hand so everybody sees. This is Kara. All right, I don't want y'all to think I was talking to my imaginary friend. Who is Kara? I don't see Kara. So Kara, he says, I'm going to take care of you while you're here. And I said, well, how did you know I went to Halifax, Nova Scotia? He said, I went on your Instagram feed before you got here. I'm like, what? Now, two schools of thought. First school of thought, freaky, okay? Second school of thought, wow, he did his homework. What's the point? When I begin to understand the power of connection, I'm moving from me to we. And when I move from me to we, I'm looking at how do I connect to your head, your heart, and your hands. When you begin to understand as a small business owner, despite all of the noise that's in the economy about what's happening, what's going on, doggone it, when you begin to offer platinum service, you begin to understand that you are an emotion, a connection, a perception, a moment, and a memory. And when you show up as your brilliant self, people begin to connect with you because you're coming from a place of not what can I take from you, but how do I create a memory for life? So Howard and I started talking. We took a picture. I was like, Howard, this is amazing. And it really spoke to me very deeply. And I started looking for individuals that would show up to do a little something extra for nothing. Here's the thing I want you to capture. Please make the note. Little things make the biggest difference. It is the little things that make the biggest difference. I was on an airplane a few weeks ago, and I'm a Delta guy. I've been flying Delta for 30 years, but every now and then I'll get on another airline, so I do my best sleeping on flights. Anybody tracking with me? I am like knocked out, right? So I wake up and on my tray table, there's this handwritten note for the arriving gate, the departing gate for my connecting flight, and it's signed by Salvatore. And I'm like, what the heck? Did Salvatore go to the flight attendant class that says, when the customer falls asleep, write them a handwritten note and put it on their tray? No, I think Salvatore said, what can I do to step beyond what American Airlines hired me to do, and how do I create a little surprise and delight, a little something extra for nothing? In other words, he said, I'm gonna move beyond a job, because a job stands for just overboard. A number of people went to work 30 years ago and they settled for a chair, a check, and a cup of coffee in Cubicle Farm and woke up and said, I'm just a bill. Well, I'm only a bill. And I'm saying, hey, capital hell. What? What? We are now in the era. This is the era for every business to realize that customer service is a department, but customer love is a mindset. Everybody, I want you to watch me. On 3, I'm going to have you say customer love, all right? On 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, now I know y'all gonna be booking and jooking the next few days. I want you to get your hands up. I want you to put a little oomph into it, and we're gonna say it again on 3. Customer love. 1, 2, 3. That's what I'm talking about, and that's the business that you are in. So I want to share a video with you of a business that saw an opportunity to just do a little something extra.
Well, we've told you how tweeting can help you get better customer service, maybe even some freebies. Here is more proof. This is a tweet from a guy about to board a plane from Tampa to Newark. Hey, Mortons, can you meet me at Newark Airport with a porterhouse when I land in 2 hours, okay? Thanks. Smiley face. Peter Shankman was joking, but check it out. When he got off the plane, there was a guy in a tux with a steak and all the fixings. Somehow, Morton's Steakhouse figured out his flight information, drove more than 23 miles, and delivered his wish, and that's what was left over after the meal.
Wow.
This guy is a social media giant. This was a brilliant PR move by Morton's Steakhouse. It's all over the internet.
I need to tweet something.
Exactly. I want a steak.
What I love about this story is Morton said, what can we do that's different, that's special, that's unique? When you think about the brilliant work that you do every single day, what's that little something extra, that extra edge that allows you to stand head and shoulders above all the noise? Now I want to build on this, and I want to take you to the next principle, and the next principle is around this whole concept of how do we personalize the experience. by really individualizing the moment. That's the takeaway. If you're taking notes, think it, ink it. How do I individualize the moment? Last week, I was in Lamar's, Iowa, and what's interesting, in getting to Lamar's, Iowa, I had to fly to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rent a truck, and drive through a snowstorm to get to Lamar's. My wife and I, we are in the car, snowing, wipers on. We're going on back roads because that's where the GPS was taking us. And so when we finally get to the bed and breakfast where we were staying, we just parked the truck and we went to, they said, now it's a lock that you have to use and you have to punch in the code. We punched in the code didn't work, and my wife is looking at me, Joker, you need to figure it out, big boy. So I'm like, I don't know, So we get back in the truck and I'm gonna back up, and as I was backing up, there was a car next to me, and I'm in a big Ford Expedition, and she's like, stop, you're about to hit the car. I was like, what? So I stopped, we parked, we called the party and the client that was hosting us, and they said, oh, you should have went around to the side. That's where the code works. We're like, okay, great. So we're like dead tired. We are hungry, we are famished. So we just leave the car. We're like, we'll just deal with it in the morning. So the next morning, we get up, and we walk outside to go and get some breakfast, found a restaurant in Yelp called Family Table Restaurant, had some good Yelp reviews, and our truck had been towed. It was gone. It was not there. And I was like, rut-row, what are we going to do? So this lady happened to be walking by, and she said, are you the Baileys? And I was like, okay, Lamar's, Iowa, population 10,000. Do they have a brother's picture posted somewhere that I don't know about? We happened to see a police officer getting in his car, and he was coming down the road, and I stood in front and I said, officer, can I talk to you? And he said, yes. He said, you're the speaker for the night. I was like, what? They certainly got my picture posted somewhere. So I said to him, I said, hey, we parked our car here last night, totally our fault. Do you know where the car might be? He says, yes. Let me make a call to Stockton Towing. He calls Stockton, hey, do you have an expedition? Yes, it's here. He said it's across town. Now, I don't know in Lamar's if they got Uber or Lyft, and I'm kind of like, okay, how are we gonna get there? And he says, why don't you hop on in? And I'm like, you know what? A brother ain't never been. I heard the soundtrack in my head, bad boys, what you gonna do when we come for you? So I get in the front seat, my wife gets in the back seat of this. You can't make this stuff up. On the opposite side of her is a cage with rifles and everything. I said, the crime rate must be pretty high here in Lamar's. The officer drives us to the towing company, and I say, Officer Justin, thank you so much. We have to take a selfie. So this is Officer Justin Dale, who is the Assistant Chief of Police for Lamar's, Iowa. And I said, sir, thank you so much for not only getting us here, but you were so kind and you were so nice about it. And he said, thank you. And he says, I'll see you tonight at the chamber event. It's like, okay, but you won't be in uniform and I don't have to worry about handcuffs. But I share this with you because he took what could have been a situation that totally went south. And now he sent me a Facebook message saying, it was so nice meeting you. If you are ever in Lamar's, Iowa, please let me know. And I said, you know what? With everything happening in the world, catch this, love and respect have no color. I'm just saying. So I will never forget this moment that he created for me. You know this so well. You create moments all the time. And if we're gonna create customers for life, how do we begin to think about what's the information that we know about our customers? When's their birthday? When's their anniversary date? When's their wedding date? What's the name of the dog, the cat, the niece, the nephew, the son, the daughter? How often do we send them a handwritten note just because, or new school, a video message, or a text, or a little something, something to let them know I'm thinking about you? How do we find a way to hug customers with our words? Because when we hug them with our words, they become our unofficial marketing department, and they begin to yelp about your brand because they know that you care about them. So personalizing the experience, individualizing the moment. We have a customer, one of our best customers, reach out to us, and we had sent a journal as a gift. And Stevie, who runs our business, Stevie said, "You will not forget what I'm about to tell you." And I said, "What's up?" She said, "One of our clients, we sent her the journal, and her daughter Harper, who is 4 years old, took the journal and said, 'Mommy, I want to draw in this journal because I want to be an artist.'" And Elise, her mom, gave her the journal, and she took a picture of Harper coloring in the journal, and we were like, "What?" And so every time we talk to her mom, we always start with, "How is Harper?" Because it's not about the business that we need to talk to. It's about, how is your child doing? And I believe this is the greatest time with everything happening in the world to take a moment to just step back and be intentional and become healing presence. Why do I say this? Here's what the research says according to Gallup, who has surveyed individuals and organizations and businesses in 191 countries. What they're saying is roughly 7 out of 10 people are stressed out, dealing with high anxiety, borderline depression. And anyone that can just take a moment to say, "I'm here because I care, and if business comes out of this, great, but if not, you are going to know that you are loved, that you are valued, you are celebrated." Dr. Maria Music, who is a clinical psychiatrist at the University of Michigan, says in her research, human beings right now need 3 things. They need to be seen, they need to be valued, and they need to be understood. And I believe when we just take that time, that moment to say, what can we do, it becomes memorable every single day. So this is an amazing woman, Judith Ray. Judith Ray is a photographer that lives in New York City. She is holding her daughter, who at this particular time was 3 years of age. In this photo, Judith is 17. And one of the things she shared with me is she said, "Simon, I got pregnant at 13 years of age, and I decided that I wanted to have my child." And she said, "Not only did I bring Jessica in the world, but I was going through high school, trying to finish high school in New York City." But she said, "I didn't stop there at high school. I went to college, and it was in college that I fell in love with photography." I said, "Judith, tell me more." She said, "Today, I have been featured in the New York Times. I've been selected by Harper Bazaar magazine as one of the top wedding photographers in the world." She said, "I'm in now 20 years of doing what I absolutely love." And she said, "I'm sharing my story," because she said, "I begin to realize that people connect with my story in doing business with me." And I was like, "What?" And when she said it, it took me back to my story. Because when you look at me today, I've been a solo entrepreneur for 20 years, have reinvented 5 times, have been to hell and back. I've gone through cancer scare, kicked it in the butt. My father died. I went through a divorce after being married for 25 years. Let me just drop a pin in this right now, because I saw some of y'all walking in holding hands, all booed up with your boo, okay? Is it okay to say boo here in Nashville? Does that translate? Okay. What's a boo? Let's look that up in Urban Dictionary. Okay, anyway. But here's the deal. Here's why I went through a divorce. I was so busy trying to build a business that my daughter came into my home office one day and she said, "Hey, Daddy." I said, "Hey, baby girl." And I sensed she wanted to talk, but I was emotionally unavailable. And she said, "Daddy, I'll just come back later." And I said, "Okay." And it hit me on the plane the next day that I missed a moment to connect with my daughter. So when I came off the road, I said, "Madison, you wanted to talk to me the other day?" She said, "Daddy, it's okay." I said, "No, it's not okay, because if I don't change my behavior, you're going to marry a joker just like me." And her mother said to me, "You give everybody the best of you, but you give us the rest of you, and I don't want the leftovers anymore." And what I realized, I'm about to help some men up in here right now. Is he going there? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I built a house but lost a home. I was making money but had no meaning, and I was pursuing power but I really had no purpose. I was chasing status. Yes, we had the Benz and the Rolls, we had the Range Rover and the 6,000 square foot house in a gated community, and took the kids to the Four Seasons in Singapore and Hong Kong. But I'm here to tell you, it does not mean squat if your relationship is coming apart at the seams. So I went to therapy because my divorce attorney said, "I think you need a little help." And let me just tell you this. No alpha male wants to go and sit on a sofa with a therapist named Anita that's been practicing therapy for 40 years and has more degrees than a thermostat. And Anita said to me, "Whatever you don't deal with will eventually deal with you." And when she said it, it invited me to deal with my unfinished business. She says there's a lot of research out there about daddies and daughters, but there's emerging research about mothers and sons, and you have been mothered to death. She said, "I invite you to call your mother." So I called my mother, and my mother said, "I've been waiting to have this conversation with you for 35 years. And in that conversation, it was a healing moment, because I realized I couldn't show up in my business and be better for anyone else with my house jacked up. So I began to do the work. I would show up once or twice a month, over 18 months, sitting on the sofa 1 to 2 hours, processing my stuff. And I stand here today because I got remarried. Yep, I got booed up again. The man that you see standing before you is because of the woman who has stood beside me, sometimes in front of me, saying that joker wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for me. So I'm grateful for Jody, because Jody has invited me to continue to look in the mirror and become a better person. The reason I talk about this personalization, individualizing the moment, because when we show up to serve customers, they are seeing all of us. And when I begin to embrace the authenticity of my story and stop being ashamed of growing up in Buffalo, New York, third poorest city in America. By the way, do I have any Bills fans here? Where's Michaela? Any Bills fans? Can I get a what? All right. I'm just saying, this is our year. Watch this afternoon. But when I begin to embrace my story, and I begin to show up authentically and begin to say, hey, this is my life. This is what has happened. I fell in love with being in my business again, because I think at some level I was phoning it in. I was paying bills, alimony, child support, kids in college. And I was so caught up in trying to get the next dollar that I wasn't doing work from a place of excellence and a place of wholeness, because there was a hole, H-O-L-E, in my soul. So when I begin to do the work and continue to do the work, I begin to realize love is not what it says, it's what it does. And when you begin to love yourself, you begin to forgive, surrender, let go, come from a place of gratitude and a place of how can I serve you? If there's anything that I want bouncing around your head like a ping pong ball here in Nashville, how can I serve you? If we come from that ethos, that disposition, people will say, what? This is different. And I know you already do this, but I'm just double clicking on it just a little bit more. So let's build on this. A few more principles that I want to walk you through. After we understand how to see them as guests, personalize the experience, how do we now begin to anticipate and uncover their needs by listening and observing? Understanding the power of listening right now is so critically important because when we talk about connect, the second piece of connect says, how do we learn? Eric Hoffer, a noted philosopher, says, in times of change, the learners will inherit the earth, while the unlearned will find themselves beautifully equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. So when I begin to understand, to become anticipatory in how I do business, I am always thinking of, what didn't they ask? You know, has anybody ever heard of Allison Tyler Jones at all? Is she in here? Is she in here at all? I don't know if she's in here at all, but I went and sat in the back on her session. This woman is absolutely brilliant. Oh my goodness. Listen, make sure you listen to her podcast. If she's doing any more sessions, don't miss her session. But one of the things she talked about is, with everything happening in the world, remembering who you are, your mindset, and how do you begin to give customers not what they're asking, but what they really, really want and need. They just don't know they need it. And when she said it, it was like a joy bomb went off in my head, because I said, listen, if we're gonna point every customer towards true north, every customer has a need, a want, a style, and an emotion. And when we begin to tap into their need, their want, their style, and emotion, they know that we are moving from selling to connecting, because when you sell, that's a transaction. But when you connect, that's a relationship. And when you begin to understand relationships, Michaela, I relate to the cargo in your ship. So wherever you are going on the ocean of life, I begin to follow you because we have a relationship. So how do we now tap into relationships? Here's the question. How are we keeping the data and the information about relationships? You have customers that you've been working with for years. What is that data? How do you tap into that? Because you have so much intel. How do you use that intel to give you hope when you don't feel it every single day? Now, where are all my honest folks at? All my honest folks have ever had days when you're kind of like, whatever, I don't know why I'm doing this, I just want to quit, you know. How many of you had days you didn't feel motivated? I've had those days. I tell people, if people tell you that they are motivated every single day, run the other way, because they will lie about other stuff. It's not that you're not motivated, it's understanding when I am anticipatory, I am always doing the work. I'm working on myself. So here's something that I think is really powerful. Anybody ever heard of Orange Theory Fitness? Orange Theory Fitness? So I did some work with the amazing folks at Orange Theory Fitness a few months ago, and they shared with me a story about Coach Jared, who's in this picture, and one of the amazing individuals that comes to work out, and her name is Jessica. When Jessica first signed up for Orange Theory Fitness, she just signed up and said, you know what, I'm not gonna go. And Coach Jared reached out to her to say, we haven't seen you. We want you to come. Well, she eventually decided to show up because she was 260 pounds, a diabetic, and she knew that she needed to do something. And when you are at Orange Theory Fitness, the hour exercise that is led by Coach Jared or any of the coaches around the country, they move you from the treadmill to the floor exercise to the rowing. When Jessica got ready to do the treadmill exercise, she couldn't do it, and she got off and she was about to quit. And Coach Jared said, everybody get on the treadmills. And all of a sudden, half of the class got back on the treadmills and said, we are here, we are going to finish with you. And she was able to finish it. Well, the amazing story about Jessica and Coach Jared, she reached out to Coach Jared because she was dealing with high anxiety. She had lost the weight, but she said, I still feel that I'm not up to par. And as Coach Jared began to encourage her to go and see someone to get some help, she was able to go and do that. she called another time to Coach Jared and said, I'm about to commit suicide. And Coach Jared said, listen, we are with you. We are here for you. Can we connect you with a resource that can help you? And she said, yes. And Jessica is alive today because Coach Jared realized in understanding where she was, it wasn't necessarily to fix anything, but it was to understand how do we come alongside and anticipate listening at that deeper level. I believe what he really understood is this whole power of how do we serve. So when you look at serve and how it's broken down, I want to double click on listening just one more time. Did you know that the same letters that spell the word listen spell the word silent? Did you know that there's a difference between, how do I want to say this, selective hearing and authentic listening? When I am truly authentic listening like all of you do so well, but the reason I just want us to amp it up a little bit more is because you are picking up on what people are saying in between the sentences. And that's where the magic is, listening at that deeper level. So when we listen at that deeper level, we begin to ask questions because you do realize the quality of your questions determine the quality of your thinking. So when I really, really want to serve, how do I empathize? The number one skill being taught right now in Silicon Valley is empathy. Empathy. How am I listening? What does that look like? How do I show up now more than ever before? Let me just talk for a moment just about verifying commitments. When I look back at the journey that we have been on in the last 20 years, February 1st will be 20 years since I walked away from the Mouse House to do this work. What I realized is that there's a difference between rational commitment and emotional commitment. Rational commitment is, I'm here in Nashville, I'm going to sit through some sessions, I'm going to take notes, and I have to do it. But emotional commitment says, I'm here in Nashville, and I am listening at that deeper level, and I want to do it. It's in that difference that what is absolutely amazing. Another brilliant session that I sat in on, and I was just like in the back of the room. I'm like, what? Anybody know Joe Edelman at all? Joe Edelman? Okay. I don't know if Joe is in the room, but that brother is brilliant, okay? Joe talked about how do you use color in your photography to create not just a visceral experience, but an emotional experience with your customers. And he just starts showing these amazing slides of his work, which was like brilliant, absolutely awesome. And I said, whoa. And his session was packed. It was standing room only. And what I realized as I began to listen to him, Joe was talking about emotional commitment. So for those of you, this is your first time here at this conference, I want to challenge you to make sure you meet 5 people that will hold you accountable, that have that emotional commitment, that they are that spark, and you say to them, you know what, hold me accountable. All right, now real quick, because this is the beginning of the conference, real quick, I want you to turn to old brilliant one that you're sitting next to, and I want you to ask them, what is the one thing that you want to take away in the next 48 hours? What's the one thing that you need to get out of this time? I'm going to give you 45 seconds to share. Go. Ten seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. Okay. Here's the deal, family. Whoever you shared with, you're now each other's accountability partner. Bless your little heart. And here's the deal. If you're sitting with someone that you didn't come to the conference with and you're meeting them for the first time, please exchange contact information. And over the next 6 weeks, I want you to reach out to each other and challenge each other to say, when we attended the opening session and we said, here's the one takeaway, what was your one takeaway, and did you operationalize it into your business? Did you do it? And how's it going, okay? Now, if you see their number coming through the caller ID, now you know I had a photo shoot. Take the call, all right? Now, I want to build on this a little bit more. So I've shared with you how do we anticipate. Now I want us to look at how do we respond, because things happen. A few years ago, I was in Washington, D.C. at Reagan National Airport, and I lost my phone. Anybody ever lose their phone before? Okay. I lost my phone, and I was like, ruh-roh, what just happened here? And I noticed that there was an old school payphone there at Reagan National Airport. Anybody know what a payphone is? Just, I'm teasing. So I go to the phone and I call my mobile provider and I say to them, hey, just lost my phone. It was insured. I didn't have on the Find My iPhone button. It was off. But I said my phone was insured, and the person on the other end of the line says, thank you so much. We actually don't handle that. I need to transfer you to another department. But before I transfer you, would you be willing to take a survey? Do I sound like I want to take a survey? But I said, let me be Disney nice. They transfer me. I tell the person all over again. They said, what city are you traveling to? I said, I'm going to Dallas, and I'll be in Denver. I'll be in Dallas for a couple of days. They said, okay, we are going to ship your phone to Dallas. It will be there on the second day. I'm like, great, woohoo. So I fly to Dallas from D.C. Day one, I'm getting excited. My phone is coming tomorrow. Next day comes, no phone. In my hotel room, I call back my mobile phone provider and I said, hey, I called, I lost my phone. They're so sorry, we don't handle that. Y'all see where this is going, right? We're gonna transfer you, but before we transfer you, would you like to take a survey? I was done. This went on for 3 weeks before I got my phone. Straight up, 3 weeks. I ended up writing a blog entitled, Why Bad Customer Service Kills Great Marketing. That blog went viral, and I got a call from the third-party company, a manager who said, there's someone here in our office on your distribution list, and they saw the blog, and we know that you're talking about us. We are so sorry what happened, and if you give us your address, we're going to send you a $250 dinner gift card. And all I heard, wah, 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 wah. I didn't care about that. I just wanted my phone. So here's the net takeaway as it relates to being responsive. It's not so much what happens. It's understanding that the fortune is in the follow-through. It's in the follow-up. It's coming alongside people to say, yeah, I know this has happened. And how do we ensure, and I know you deal with this all the time because you are with people in some of their most tender and precious moments of their life. And what I'm just inviting us to think about is when we are being responsive, it is also saying something about the brand of our business. So when I talk about being responsive, this amazing young woman is Karen. And I ran into Karen on another trip to Dallas. I was walking into the Omni Hotel, and Karen, she said, Simon. I said, Karen, oh my God, what's happening? What's going on? And Karen is a new speaker. And so she began to tell me how business was going and how she was doing. And she said, guess what? I now have a podcast on Success Magazine. I've got a podcast and I want to have you on. I'm like, what? You want to have me on? Oh my goodness. I'll make sure it's a good hair day when I come on. So, I was so happy to go on her podcast that I did it. But what I recognized is Karen, just in that moment and being responsive, my business had hit just the tailwind. And I was kind of like, you know what, man, I've been doing this for a few years. And what's going on? You know, is it January? Where's the business, right? And she said, I want to have you on the podcast. And going on her podcast introduced me to other people. And I said to myself, oh my goodness, she totally paid it forward. You're probably saying, Simon, why are you going down this path? Here's the deal. You want to build your business, you want to create customers for life, give away what you need the most. I'm just going to let that land because it is awfully quiet here in Toothopolis. Give away what you need the most. What would it be like to refer? And I know you already do this, but I'm asking you to amplify it even more because you're hearing about recession and the layoffs. Guess what? If there's a recession, if there are layoffs, I choose not to participate because I'm coming from a deeper place that I'm gonna help somebody out. Anybody with me? So net family, I want us to find five people over the next 5 weeks, once a week, refer them. Refer them not just because you're referring them, but you're referring them because they are excellent just like you, if not better. You're probably saying, why? The law of reciprocity says what goes around comes around. Sometimes we got to put it out there first. And so what Karen did for me by having me on our podcast, I was like, God, that's so kind. That's so nice. She gave me a hand up, not a hand out. So how can we, as we think about our business, who else can we help? What else can we do? Because I believe when we do that, we will have that mind shift that I heard Allison talk about. So here's the final principle. How do we come from a place of kindness? Everybody say kindness. Coming from a place of kindness. Oh my goodness, I could spend an hour talking about kindness. But I think kindness is underrated in business. And I believe if we are going to continue to grow as entrepreneurs, how do we begin to realize that kindness is the bottom line? That's right, Simon says kindness is the bottom line. Not too long ago, some friends invited me to go to Bhutan on a hiking trip. Newsflash, black folk don't hike, okay? I'm on this hike. We going up 10,000 feet in the Himalayan mountains. As we go higher, I am losing my breath. I'm feeling like my heart is going to jump out my chest. I'm like, why am I on this hiking trip? Why did I allow Justin to talk me into coming on this trip with 24 people from around the world that I don't know? And I'm just like, wah, wah, wah. I am in my head. And I met myself on the mountain because it was a story that I was telling myself and I wasn't being kind to myself. Let's just drop a pin in this. Sometimes you commit verbal judo on yourself and today it stops. No longer will you beat yourself up because of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Let it go. You're done with that. Because by the time you leave Nashville and you come from a place of kindness, you are literally going to change the frequency of what's happening in your business because you are vibrating from a different level. You're vibrating from a place of kindness. Everybody tracking with me? So when I come from this place of kindness, y'all know it is Sunday morning, right? Don't worry, I'm not going to pass the plate for you to sow a seed, all right? Some of y'all will get that later, okay. But on this hiking trip, I see they have these little spots where they have these sayings that are posted. And I take out my camera there in Bhutan and I take a picture of this because I said, that's it. That's it right there. How do I come from a place of kindness? So I'm on this hiking trip, and just when I was about to give up and say, you know what? I'm about to turn around. I'm done. All of a sudden, this man standing next to me, my guide, his name is Poob. Poob is spelled P-H-U-B. And when I turned to Poob and I said, Poob, how much longer is it going to take for us to get to the monastery? And he said, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. You are doing so good. Just a little bit more. 2.5 hours later, I don't know if he set me up, but what I discovered, because Poob came from a place of kindness, I discovered, family, that encouragement is oxygen for the soul. Who can we encourage with our hello? How are you? Pete, who can we encourage? Pete on the board. That's right, Pete. I'm talking. I see you, brother. I see you, Pete. Who can we encourage? Pete said, you just called me out. What? We're going to talk a little bit later. Okay. Poob encouraged me. And I was able to make it up. We spent the night, the entire group in the monastery with monks, and we ate. It was a phenomenal experience. But he came from a place of kindness. Why kindness, Simon? Here's what the research says, according to Emory University. When we help others, the reward centers in our brain begin to light up almost as if we have been on the receiving end of the person we just helped. And guess what they call it? They call it the helper's high. When I come from this place of kindness, what? It's phenomenal. But let me bring it a little bit closer to home. Where is April and Pete Graves that I met last night at the bar? Hey there, hey, April and Pete. Everybody say hi, April. Hi, Pete. So last night at the bar, I sat down to watch the football game and order a little food. I was starving. I know y'all think I don't ever eat, but food means a lot. So I sat down, and April, who was sitting next to me, she said, "You're the speaker." I said, "Yes." And we started talking, and what I so appreciate about April has 3 studios in the Chicago land area. She has been an entrepreneur since she was 13 years of age. Can we give it up for her? Light Dawn Studios. And what I so appreciate about April, as I was eating and talking with her and Pete, her brilliant husband, who's a fabulous award-winning architect there in Chicago, we just had this really great conversation. And I said to her, April, what's been your key to success? You've been in this business for a long time. And she said to me, Simon, mindset. I said, awesome. I said, what else? She said, it's this ability to give back. And I was like, what? Tell me more. And she said there are a number of specific charities that she handpicks, that she chooses to work with, where she will do an amazing and brilliant portrait as a fundraiser to raise money for this particular charity or the charities that she works with. And April, keep me honest here, she's been able to raise over $1 million for particular charities as it relates to this. And I was like, what? Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Net, I want you to find April Graves. If you are not following her on Instagram, follow her, because I really got a chance yesterday to hear her heart. Now, she is wicked smart. I mean, she is wicked smart. I know she lives in Chicago, but in Boston, they would say wicked smart. She's wicked smart, and we just had this great conversation. We talked about politics, we talked about religion, we talked about race, we talked about business. I mean, the 3 of us, we sat there, and I think we solved all the problems in the world. We did, like literally. But they felt like my people, like we knew each other. And the reason I say that, because y'all, we've been cooped up and isolated and masked on, a lot going on. And people just need to know, do I still matter? Do you see me? Can we talk? Can we have a conversation? She could have sat there and said, I don't know this brother, I don't know his story. I'm just gonna enjoy my boo. But she didn't. And I am grateful. So Nicholas was the bartender, and I said, Nick, you gotta take a picture of the three of us. And I sent the photo, April and Pete, you'll love this. I sent the photo to Jody this morning. I said, we have some new friends in Chicago. When we go to Chicago, I know they're gonna take me to McDonald's, okay? So, but here's the thing I want us to think about, family. When we talk about connect, learn, thrive, how do we come from a place of kindness? How do we begin to look each other in the eye and say, I am so glad to be a photographer just like you. You know what? Let's do that. Turn to your neighbor, turn to the person you're sitting next to. I know y'all wondering, is this the kumbaya part? Maybe it is, maybe it is. What we're about to do in this moment, we are about to upgrade our verbal software because language is the software of the mind. So I want you to turn to your neighbor and I want you to say this to them. I want you to say, I appreciate the opportunity to work in a profession with a brilliant person like you. I want you to know I see you, I celebrate you, I need you, and I love you. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's what this is about. Business is about love and kindness. And when I come from a place of love and kindness, I don't worry about the dips in the economy and uncertainty because I have certainty within myself as to why I said yes to protect all of the things I believe so important. So if once I say yes to a dream, that means I will say no to other things because sometimes you have to say no to protect your yes. And when I say no to protect my yes, Kara, I'm honoring myself. Michelle, I'm honoring myself. George, I'm honoring myself when I say no to protect my yes. At Ritz-Carlton, they teach the answer is yes. Now what's the question? When you are the spark, you become that person who shows up and changes the atmosphere in the room. Because when you walk into a room, even though you might be behind a camera, you are a storyteller behind the lens. And as you begin to zoom out and zoom in, you begin to see the head, the hearts, and the minds of individuals who are suffering with the vicissitudes of whatever is going on. And in a moment, you begin to transform them because they begin to realize that I am beautiful, I am brilliant, I am bold, I am somebody. And it was this photographer who saw me for the first time. The memories that you create will last for generations because when you talk about inheritance of your gift, an inheritance is what you give, but legacy is what you put in. And some of you are building a brilliant legacy for doing brilliant work. So I want to let you know In the words of Gordon Dalby, tells a story about a guy that was having a reoccurring dream of a ferocious lion chasing him. And whenever he would have the dream, he would take off running. And one day he went to see a counselor, and the counselor says, the next time you have the dream, I want you to stop, face the lion, look the lion in the eye, and ask the lion, who are you? Why are you chasing me? So a couple weeks goes by, and this guy has this reoccurring dream of this lion chasing him, and he takes off running. But Kara, he stops because it dawns on him what the counselor says. And Kara, I know I'm gonna have to give you a check at the end of this because you said, use my name a lot. I didn't know I was gonna be a part of the program. That wasn't in the script. So Kara, he turns around, he faces the lion, and he looks the lion in the eye, and he says, who are you? Why are you chasing me? And the lion said, I am your strength and courage. Why are you running from me? When you understand, oh brilliant one, that you are the spark, you turn and face the lion for who you become in the process. Because you would never be put in this position unless you already had the capacity, the capability, and the competency to do what you do. Because when you do what you do, nobody can do you like you do you. Because you are absolutely brilliant. Why? Why? Because Simon says so. Okay, real quick, I gotta wrap this up because I know I stand between you and the bar. I'm sorry, the exhibit hall, the exhibit hall. 20 years ago, when I left Disney, I didn't know that I would have this opportunity to come before you. But there were many of you who saw me and you gave me a shot. And I'm talking about you. You gave me a chance. You put my name forward as a board member. And you said, we need to get Simon T. Bailey to this conference. And I've been wanting to come for 10 years. I'm just saying. But I realized I had to work on my craft. I had to get better. So I don't know when I will see you again, but I just want you to hear my heart. I love you, and I believe in you. I did my best to greet as many of you coming in this morning, called you by name. I will be outside to greet you as you leave. But if I don't get a chance to shake your hand or look you in the eye, I just want to let you know, you're not here by accident. I need you, and you need me. I love you. I believe in you. There's not a darn thing you can do about it. Anything you want to know about me, simontbailey.com. And oh, by the way, I approve this message. Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What? 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 Oh my goodness.